Hey, everybody, welcome back to Our Healer, Our Protector. Actually, from Oak Island Resort here in the most northern part of Minnesota. We have Tom Pfanner with us. So grateful to have him on the show. Lisa and I met Tom at the Coeur d'Alene Summit back in June. Super excited. He actually, gave all of us one of his books, Dads Who Lead. And wow, what a special gift we have here to have Tom on our show. Tom, I'd just really like to turn it over to you, kind of let everybody know who you are and what you represent, and then we'll get into things.
Yeah, thank you. I'm a follower of Jesus. I'm a dad. I'm of three amazing kids, and specifically one of them, my teenage son, has brought me through a journey of understanding what it feels like and the process of having a teenager rebel against my leadership. And God's taken me on a journey through that experience of really digging into understanding why kids rebel and how to reverse that cycle. So that's really the objective that I set out to achieve when I wrote Dads Who Lead.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, something where, I've, been following you now on social media and so forth and getting to see, how you guys, have your trips, what you call it, sure you have the specific term for it, but I think of like a wilderness journey with, fathers, sons, so on and so forth. And just like we were talking earlier, I'm up here fishing with my dad, something the last 40 years we've been doing,
Wow.
and yeah, it's I guess more so for you, like with your journey and kind of seeing some of the tools that you've created, struggles that have happened. I know in my 40s I still struggle with my dad. We can't change certain people we love, in the whole aspect of ourselves.
And Tom,
Hey,
can you kind of tell your backstory of how young you became a dad?
absolutely. So I became a dad when I was in high school. And my son was born when I was 18 years old. And the process from the jump was like I became an adult and I became a dad basically within one stroke of God's paintbrush. And that journey of becoming a dad at a young age and also not having a great relationship with his mom. It was never really, we were never a match to be together. We dated in high school and we were broken up by the time he was born. And so there wasn't a lot of time that I got to spend with Charles when he was really small. And with that time, it really made me hungry to capitalize on as much of the time that I did have with him and provide for him in the best way that I could. So, and I was in school, I was working, spending time with him and training in martial arts. So any time that I had, I really wanted to make the most of it. And I had some friends who would be out and drinking and kind of doing the early 20s phase, and I didn't have a lot of opportunity to develop those bad habits. A lot of thanks to Charles because he kept me dialed in and what I needed to provide. And I remember being that young age, I didn't know what I needed to provide for Charles. I just knew I needed to provide. And so it just put me in this lock in like, all right, well, I'm gonna get a landscaping job or working at the shipping facility and just work and see, as whatever I can provide, I'm gonna provide. And so it wasn't so much about taking like the right action, but just taking action in those early days.
I love that. Did you have support from your mom and dad when you went through all of this?
Yeah, my mom was actually super supportive, and I don't share this a ton, but my mom actually lost a child when she was 6 weeks old, my sister
Mhm.
Anna. I won't go too much into the backstory, but that, as well as my parents lost a son, an adopted son, to a drowning when he was 18 before I was born as well. So there's this history of our family of being having a lot of reverence towards life and family. And so when I told my mom about Charles, she's like, that's something that's very special. And so it was
No.
never like there was an aura of disappointment, at least from her. And so that
Mhm.
was really comforting to allow me to just step into doing what I needed to do as a man to provide and not get caught in like I mean, there was other things that I struggled with being a dad really young. But at least that end, they were supportive of putting me in a position to be successful as a dad at a young age, which was really profound.
Oh, that's amazing. And then another question. So you starting all this, when did you write this book? And you have
Yes.
and you're married and have a beautiful family and one
Yes.
kids.
Yeah, let's drop in. So, my son Charles, when he was about 4 or 5, I met my wife Megan. We got married a few years later. Maybe no, maybe we got married when he was 5. I think we started dating when he was about 3. And after we got married, we moved to Eugene, Oregon, where he lived. We started having him about 50% of the time. And that's how the parenting plan was until he was about in 7th grade. And that's where this book kind of kicks in. So when Charles was in 7th grade, his birth mom moved across the state and without any notice. And Charles was like, "Well, no, mom, I don't want to move. I want to stay with dad, and my friends are here. This is where I want to be." And myself, my ego is like, "Oh, awesome! Like more time with my son." I helped him get work over the summer. I helped coach his football team, which I had been doing anyway, but it was just to be transparent, it was easier because it wasn't like, all right, well, I got to schedule the practices around my parenting time. It's just like I had them all the time.
Mhm.
And then he's passing his classes. But we'll get to December, so he'd been living with us for about 8 or 9 months, and that's when we started to have some more friction in our relationship. And I thought it was pretty normal. Teenage pushing back, doesn't want to do what his dad's telling him to do, wants to be on his phone more, all of that. In January, mid January, I remember getting done with coaching wrestling and not being able to get a hold of Charles when I called him. And it's this just weird feeling like this just doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel right. Like, because when he left in the morning, things were seemed to be okay. Call my parents because sometimes he would go over there if I was working late, my wife was working, and they hadn't heard from him. So nobody really heard from him. We kind of expected him to be somewhere, and he wasn't. And it felt like a couple. It probably felt like a couple days. It was probably only like an hour and a half or 2 hours that I could get. Finally, I got hold of him on the phone. He says, "Dad, I'm done with you. I'm tired of being controlled. I'm moving in with mom. Peace out."
Oh gosh.
And so at that point, it was just me, my wife, my daughter Maddie was she was probably about 2, and then my daughter Leela was going to be born in a few months. And we had gone into like starting some court paperwork to get Charles to be able to like officially be with us and have control of his not control in like a dominating sense
Mhm.
of his parenting like plan and his schooling, but just in the sense like if we needed to make decisions for him within his school, that we could do that. And it was like, all right, God, you've just like taken all of this wind out of my sails. I'd already started a father son retreat program, which Ryan alluded to, and Charles was a part of it that first year. And so here I was, like running a father son retreat program, and my own son had just walked out of my life. And there was no teacher to turn to try to figure out a plan. There was no calling Charles. The only person to look to was my own leadership and leaning into what God had planned for me. And it was really tough because I was a middle school PE teacher, so I had experience with kids, specifically this age. I'd read all like the Jocko books. I'd done some coaching, so I felt pretty good about who I was as a dad and the effort that I was putting in. But it was just God basically said, like, you're not there yet. I still have more growth for you. And so in
Yes.
that season, after Charles rebelled and walked out of my life, I had to look inward, like, how can I evolve and change and grow as a leader for Charles? So that because I knew when he was with his mom, like thing for various reasons, it was not working out. His the second half of his eighth grade year, he was on drugs. He was starting to smoke weed. He was failing his classes. He wasn't attending school. He wasn't doing sports. He wasn't working. So all of these things, like if I didn't make some massive change to intervene and become somebody that he could lean into, he would likely be a high school dropout and a drug addict by the time we got to December, by Christmas. And so my wife and I decided that we were leaving Eugene. We decided to leave my teaching job and move across the state to Central Oregon to where Charles was, chase after the lost sheep so that we could get him in a good position. And through that time too, just we had started to rebuild the trust and connection so that he would be willing to come. We didn't know, like he could have come to our house. Like we set up a parenting plan with the state. They said like clearly things aren't going great without dad around. If dad, you move out to Central Oregon, you can have 50-50 time joint custody. So that deal worked out great. But we didn't know there's no guarantee that Charles was going to, once we got there, like follow through with the plan. So we moved, and by God's grace and the work that I did, he received the love that we gave him as a family and the support. And if you want, I can go more into like how the story continues.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then, what a great support system from your wife Megan too.
Yes.
That makes a huge difference. Blending family is really hard and so important too because both the mom and dad have so much love for their kids, and blending is so important, and to have open hearts to accept all that comes with it.
Yes. Megan, she's amazing for a lot of reasons. And I think probably the biggest one is that willing to, she's always been willing to trust my leadership and understand and be patient with Charles and the whole situation because it has not always been easy. Like there have been plenty of moments where she's been hurt by him or
Mm.
by his mom or just the situation's been hard. Like she's been on single mom forums on or not single mom but like stepmom forums on online, and they're like, oh yeah, it sounds like the best situation for you is just to get out. Like that was just like typically the advice that she was getting online. So for her to be strong in moving through some tough seasons, I'm super grateful for.
Think what's it's so good for people to hear this, because all of us, like I'm still learning, and so is Ryan with our kids. No one teaches us this stuff. No one teaches us the curveballs. Like in high school, we don't have parenting classes. In college, we don't have parenting classes. Actually, there should be. They want us to be this whole rounded person, and there should be classes out there. And we lean on other people and trying to find the right people with the same Christian background,
Yes.
and like Megan finding people, but they're telling her the opposite of what to do to find the right support. And people like you make a difference by writing the book that you do because we need to be taught. And what I'm also excited about is the retreats that are coming up also that Ryan and I get to be a part of. Do you want to tell me a
Yes.
bit about that?
Absolutely. So, a lot of what we've done in the last 4 or 5 years has been focused around the dad's leadership in the home, with my coaching. And then it's as well as we've done the father son retreat to really fortify that bond within the home. But the more I work with families, there's just been a desire to integrate mom into that leadership more and more because she's such a huge role in how the family and the structure works. And to have everybody on the same page and rowing in the same direction is really powerful. And so, what I really like, and I'm excited about having you all as a part of this adventure out in Oregon in October, I'd really like to create a space where we can look at like what was the programming that we got from our parents? What is it that we want to create? And how do we want to operate when the fire's hot as parents? And then what does it look like to put in those reps? What does it look like to become the parents who are rowing in the same direction and are unified in Christ and unified in each other and what you're wanting to create as a home? Because so often for us, like we've got sports and work and exercise and all the things that just takes to keep our head above water. And how often do we really step back and say, okay, grand strategy, what is it that we want to create, and what are the blocks or the anchors that we haven't really addressed that are holding us back from creating this life and family that we want?
It's fantastic. I love it. We're having a great conversation. No, I mean, I look at it, from all sides, just like we were talking about, with my dad today. Like I said, he's coming up on his 74th time around the sun here next month. You know, when he's got such a huge heart, it's just we see like how his father, raised him and so on and so forth. And so how those interactions, to me, it's like the very bravado, manly, macho, belch, swear, uh, be all manly. And
Mm.
to me, that's not who I follow in my life today, being someone who follows Jesus Christ. And
Yes.
it's the struggle of like the old versus the new, and understanding that most listeners know my backstory and kind of where things are at today with my two daughters. And one is in my life about 50% of the time, and then is not, and that's her choice. And yeah, it was about a year ago when all that changed. It was very interesting, the dynamics like you talk about with Charles. Just all of a sudden, things seemed to be going well, and then it was just 180 degrees, like opposite direction. And I understand the pain, suffering that would have put her mother through, and her through, kind of, in the last number of months before separation and so on and so forth a couple of years ago. But yeah, it's a real struggle. But I know today, you just being the right example, living that life, just the living truth, as I like to call it, and brutally
Yes.
honest, following Jesus, and it's one of those like if there's light, there can't be darkness. So I just love so much, like I said, how we met out in Port
Yeah.
Lane, and then what's come to now fruition of us in October, doing the first retreat together, and looking forward to many others down the road, just knowing that even as dynamics change, with relationships and so forth, it does take the house, the father and the mother, and so on and so forth, to create that holistic, family, and be it blended, be it natural, or whatever it looks like when it's blended, so forth.
Yes.
Do you want to tell it, how people can get a hold of you for the upcoming retreat in October?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say if you're connected with Lisa and Ryan, connect with them and then they can make an introduction. If you're new to the channel and you're just wanting to track me down, I am on Instagram at the Leadership Dad. You can also find us at dadswholead.com. And through there, you can take our leadership quiz and kind of get cycled into some of the content we're putting out. But if you're really just like, hey, this leadership retreat with my wife or my husband, I'd really like to learn more about. I would encourage you to just find a way. Like technology is awesome, not today. Like find a way, reach me, and we'll have a conversation. It's something that we're putting together. Well, I'm putting together with Ryan and Lisa, and it's kind of a unique opportunity. I'm not doing a whole lot of marketing for it because I want it. We're going to keep it a small group. And we just want to put our energy into making sure the experience is really unique and powerful and transformational. And so that's really where we're emphasizing. And I would also say, because I've got to kind of convey how the dads who lead retreats are different than a typical program that you go through. Adventure is a really big piece. So I was a PE teacher for 7 years, and so I've seen, especially with men, but with women as well, when you're able to engage in activities, whether it's a hike or escape room, we're going to be doing firearm training, home defense, firearm training. Those activities, they pull out lessons, they pull out emotions, and it makes the experience fun. We don't want to create something where you're sitting behind in a conference room all day and at the end you feel exhausted. We want to allow your body to move, your soul to move, so that you're able to flow and have a very fun experience as well as a very transformative experience.
We're excited because, yes, you're not going to be sitting. You actually get to do couples things together to lean on and have a fun adventure, to have fun with each other. I'm really looking forward to that. And if I can just let people know, like reading books is so important and actually going to do stuff like me as a nurse, I get excited about nursing when I go to conferences. And now I'm getting excited about going to summits and other conferences. And it opens your eyes and it makes you want to live life brighter. And when you get around the right people and get you excited, you want to do better. And this is one of the in October, this couple retreat, it is going to inspire you. And when you bring yourself up with higher people, like the things that you can accomplish, and when you give it to God first and
Yes.
lead with Him, the wonderful things that can open up, and our actions show our children. Our love in our house show our children, um, the communication show our children. So if you can become closer,
Good.
no matter where you are in your relationship, you can start over or you can begin something new and become stronger, because think about how long people can be married for 50, 60 years, and you're always going to go through these ups and downs. Find your ups, go after them. And this is what
Mhm.
this weekend is going to do for you.
Yes. Yeah, I love how you explain that. Finding your ups, finding that we can influence. And if you're listening to this, specifically if you're a dad, I believe as dads, we're called to be the leaders of the home, bringing this to your wife and saying, hey, this is something that looks like it would be fun to look into. She's going to respect, like, wow, okay, he's invested in a way that I can trust and lean in. So, yeah, well said, Lisa.
Oh, I'm super excited.
I think Lisa, you hit it on the head, just like growing up, just like throughout life, show me the circles that you operate in, or you hang in. I'll show you your level of success. And it's just one of those where got to be in the right groups all the way around, be it spiritually, professionally, be it personally. So I think this time around, yeah, the retreat's going to be amazing in October. There'll be many more to come as we
Yes.
move through things. But Tom, thank you so much for coming on the show today and sharing everything with Dads Who Lead and the Leadership Dad. And I definitely look forward to continuing to see everything going out in the wilderness in the Pacific Northwest. For the rest of the listeners out there that haven't this is your first show, just make sure if you're on YouTube, you're hitting the subscribe, like, and share buttons all there for us. And make sure to check out lisasander.com or Ryan T. Reichert anywhere out there, Sun for social media. And yeah, if you've never been to Bend, Oregon, I think 9 through 13, roughly October. That's going to be amazing. Thank you so much for listening today. Have a great day.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you guys.
All right. Love y'all.
Bye.